All praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and let's get right into this video.
Always American slavery, there's always somebody who feels the need to say, the Irish were slaves too. And that is where the conversation goes wrong. Because while Irish people experienced indentured servitude, they were not chattel slaves. And those two systems are not the same. Not morally, not legally, not historically. Indentured servitude was temporary. Chattel slavery was permanent. Indentured servitude signed contracts often under economic pressure, deception, or punishment. Those contracts typically lasted 4 to 7 years. At the end of that term, the person was legally free. They could own land. They could marry freely. They could pass property to their children. Their children were born free. Chattel slavery was for life. Black people were not considered human beings under the law. They were property. They could be bought, sold, insured, raped, bred, beaten, or killed with little to no legal consequence. And most importantly, their children inherited their enslaved status, generation after generation. That is the distinction. Now let's talk about race, because race is not ancient. Race was constructed. Early in the colonial period, poor Europeans, including Irish indentured servants and enslaved Africans, worked alongside each other. And yes, slave owners were terrified of unity. They were afraid that poor whites and enslaved blacks would realize that they had more in common with each other than with the ruling class. So the system adapted. Laws were created to divide people permanently, not by class, but by race. This is where whiteness was birthed. Irish people were not always considered white. They were viewed as inferior, uncivilized, and expendable. But over time, they were granted conditional access to whiteness, not equality with the ruling class, but superiority over black people. And that mattered, because even when Irish indentured servants were mistreated, they still had a path out. They could eventually become free. They could assimilate. They could gain legal rights. They could vote. They could own land. They could become overseers, police, or enforcers of the system. Black people could not. That hierarchy alone created incentive. Now let's address another lie that always gets thrown out. Your own people sold you. Africans did not sell their people in the way that this is framed today. Africa was not a single country. These were tribal conflicts, wars, and captures, just like wars in Europe. No one understood that the people being taken were being sold into a permanent hereditary system of racialized slavery across the ocean. There was no concept of chattel slavery as it would exist in the Americas. And even if there were African intermediaries, that does not absolve the system that created, expanded, codified, and profited from the most brutal form of slavery the modern world has ever known. Chattel slavery was unique because it was racial. It was permanent. It was inheritable. It was legally protected, and it was designed to extract labor while stripping identity, lineage, culture, and humanity. So when people try to equate struggles, what they're really doing is minimizing the truth. You can acknowledge that other groups suffered without erasing what made Black American slavery distinct. Now drop a black fist in the comments.
Alright, so there's a few things I do want to say here. For one, we're not black, we're Israelites, so this thing of black power or drop a black fist is nonsense, right? And another thing is that the Hamites sold us, the Israelites, into slavery. Okay, so going back to what I said earlier, we're not black, we're different shades of brown. Being black actually is derogatory. The fact that we went through 150 years of slavery, and then, of course, we're now put at the disadvantage because of that, right? The thing is, what you need to realize is, as Israelites, we need to throw off this black connotation, this black label, alright, and just be done with it. Because the thing is when you call yourself black, you're kind of calling yourself low, right? You're calling yourself absence of purity. You're calling yourself dirty, right? So this black fist, this black power, black unity, it's mumbo jumbo BS, right? Now, of course, I do want to say the thing is with Esau will, try to gaslight so-called black people by saying, oh, everyone was in slavery, everyone was slaves. The term slave came from Slavic. White people were slaves too. But the thing is the slavery that the Israelites went into is unlike any slavery any other nation has went into. Right? As a matter of fact, let's get out the scripture. It says in Zechariah chapter 1 verse 15, I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, but they helped forward the affliction. Right? The heathen, especially Esau Edom, forwarded our affliction. And on top of that, no one helped us. No one helped us when we were in that affliction. Right? Ammon did not come to help us. Moab did not come to help us. Ham sold us into slavery. Right? Elam did not come to help us. Right? We really were taking the brunt of everything all right there, and that was actually supposed to be a light affliction, right? So the thing is this has to be repaid back, right? And of course, it says in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 13, and the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail. But that was if we obeyed. So right now we're considered the tail in society right now, right? It says right here, Revelation chapter 13, verse 10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints, right? So, Lord willing, I'm of the elect, but the Israelites, what we're really waiting for is to get our payback. We're waiting to get our payback on Esau, and not just Esau, but we're also waiting to get our comeback on the rest of the nations, right? And we really want Esau to, experience, double what we went through. And of course, that will be, right? Esau believes he's the only nation that can get away with this and just, protect himself under the fake name Jesus. But that is not the case. Because Yahweh Shai will be the one to deal with Esau. And Esau will really bear the brunt of it. So, hope this lesson is edifying. To the elect and hopeful elect, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Shalom.